Hey guys, I'm Casie, and this is Click with Casie. And in the exit interview series, I am sitting down with people to find out why they left their jobs. Was it by choice? Were they forced out? Was it a mix of both? I want to know, what did they learn, if anything? And what would they do differently, if anything, if they could go back and try it all over again? So grab a coffee and settle in, because this next story just might change the way you see your own. Now, today we have Mr. Jacob Jones with us. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So I cannot wait to hear all the stories you have to tell today. I know you have several really good ones. So how should we start?
I want to talk first about a job I worked for 4.5 years and cried when I decided I had to leave it.
Okay, yes. Tell us more.
So I was a business consultant for about 4.5 years. Every day I got to work with business owners, entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, and it was the best job I'd ever had up to that point. It was like my first big boy job. I had a career and a salary and benefits.
Yes.
And it was going great for 4 years. Then the culture of the place started to change. Then the leadership style of the place started to change. Then the type of work we were doing started to change. And I remember specifically when I knew I had to leave, it was after we had a big kind of staff meeting, and one of my coworkers came in and he closed the door. And he was like, "Hey, is everything okay with you and the boss?" And I was like, "Yeah, everything's fine." They're like, "Okay." I was just kind of worried because she seemed really angry at you and kind of disrespectful, and I was just worried there was some kind of beef between you guys. And I was like, "I think I need to leave. I think I need to go." And then within 6 months, I had found a new position and I had to leave. And when I was deciding to leave, I was talking with my partner at the time, and it was probably the hardest career choice I had to make at that point. I loved working with my clients, talking about leaving. I could feel my heart getting tight in my chest. I remember crying, what's going to happen with these businesses? I just want to help them so badly.
Yeah.
But I knew I couldn't stay there and succeed how I wanted to.
Yeah. So, okay, so many questions. So let me go back to, you said that first the culture started to change, and then leadership started to change, and then the job started to change. Can you walk me through that? What did it mean? When the culture started to change, what did that look like?
At first, everybody was very collaborative. We all had clients and we would work with each other on them. Everybody had different expertise and knowledge sets, and it was a great place to work. We all worked in this long hallway with our offices down it, and it was nice to go into somebody else's office and sit down and talk for 30 minutes, talk about what's going on with the client, or just chat with them.
Yeah.
Have that. One of my coworkers built his own little coffee house in his office.
Cute.
Then it's
so a very collaborative, open kind of vibe. Okay.
Absolutely. Then bit by bit, it started to become, hey, I don't want to see everybody in each other's offices if you're not talking about specifically client things. We need to be doing client-based work. Okay, fair enough. That's what we're here to do. I understand that,
sure.
But then once you'd go into somebody's office and you'd hear the click-clack of heels coming down the hallway and be like, "Oh, yeah, the client was doing this. Just wondering if you need assistance with this." So everybody started to be a little bit more afraid to talk to each other.
Yeah.
Meetings, people started to be called out a lot more often.
Interesting.
As opposed to kind of praising in public, criticizing in private.
Yeah.
It was a lot more of, you're doing this wrong, this is happening wrong, how can we fix what this person did?
Okay.
Those kinds of things started to happen, and there also started to be a lot less communication from the top down.
Okay.
And things just kind of happened, and none of us knew what was going on.
Interesting. Okay. So things would just roll down without any sort of heads up or explanation. It was just, this is what we're doing now.
This is what we're doing now, or this is what you're doing. I need it immediately. What am I supposed to be doing? We'll talk about it later. And then later just never really happened.
Sure. Interesting. Okay. So, and what do you think was the thing that what caused the culture to start shifting? Was it new people being hired? Was it new management or leadership? Was it the pandemic? What? What was?
I think honestly it was the pandemic.
Oh, okay.
The person I worked for loved being able to go into people's offices whenever they liked being able to see, hear, and be involved with everything and know what's going on. When the pandemic happened and we moved to remote work for a few months, I noticed Their emails are getting like more aggressive and terse. Assignments are getting less kind of fulfilling. And I remember they went really hard. I think we got like 4 different emergency waivers from the state so we could go back in person.
Wow.
Go back in the office just to do virtual work in the office.
Oh, God.
And
so there was like a control.
There was a control aspect. And I never really noticed it before until we were back in the office. And I started to notice that they had to be aware of everything. There was nothing they could not be aware of. Yeah. Even like, oh, I talked to this resource partner at a networking event. Why didn't you tell me that?
Oh, wow.
Just kind of having a casual conversation,
Yeah.
That was a big trigger. I was like, things are not how they were.
Or how you perceive them to be because it was the same leader?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like that this person's true color started to show after there was some space.
Yeah.
And then you came back.
Yep.
And it's like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay.
And I think the pandemic was different for everybody, how we got through it, how some of us didn't get through it in other ways. I think that just kind of changed a lot externally. Mm-hmm. And I think how they responded was, I got to tighten everything up.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. Yeah. And I'm really glad you just brought up that perspective because I don't know. We all kind of talk about the pandemic a lot, right? Like we all had to live through a lot. But to say what you just said, I haven't heard people say that before, which is obviously all of us were changed by it.
Yeah.
Right? That goes without saying. But then how we went back to work. I don't often hear the comment or the conversation of, I changed, so it changed. Even though that is 100% my story and why I left. That is what you just said is exactly why I left.
I worked from home for 3 months of that job.
Yeah.
That was the best 3 months I think I had ever had working there.
Interesting. And do you mean that like productivity-wise?
Productivity-wise, lifestyle-wise, emotional-wise.
Oh, okay.
Going back, there was a lot I was like, I'm going to do this better. This is going to change. And that new attitude and kind of mindset I had was at odds with the mindset that leadership had decided this is now what's going to happen in here.
Yeah.
And thinking back now, talking it through, I can see that as kind of one of the trigger points of like, okay, this maybe is where this started. This is where the seed of this kind of conflict started from.
Yeah. Well, and so if you think about like the status quo, like you guys had your offices and you were very collaborative and it seemed like a really great place to work because there was no other way. There was no other option.
Yep.
But then you go and then you have this other way and this other option. And even though it felt great the first time, going back, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
But there's these other ways now.
There's these other ways.
Yeah.
And to kind of skip along to the next point of like how other things changed, all of us were like, hey, here's some changes we'd like to make. You know, we've kind of had a taste of this and we feel this would make our work better. We feel like it would improve what we're doing for who we serve. We really want to consider this.
Yeah.
No.
Just no.
Just no. And then whenever it even a tiny step towards it, conversation in the office, I really need you to stop bringing that up. I really need you to stop. It's hurting everybody else. You go talk to everybody else is fine with it.
Yeah. Yeah. So can you tell me more about the meeting that you were apparently being ripped apart and you didn't even know it?
So we would have quarterly these meetings where all the staff would come together for like almost a full day. We would devote ourselves to strategic things, bigger operational things that were changing kind of in the environment. Mm-hmm. And typically that was a little bit more of a relaxed day.
Yeah.
Don't have to, dress up. So I came in a sweater, jeans and sneakers. I walk in, hey, how you doing? Good. We're relaxed today, are we? Yeah. Yeah, we're not meeting anybody today, so normally this is how we all dress. Okay, yeah. Then comments start coming more and more about like, we're a professional organization, even if some of us don't look like it.
Very passive-aggressive.
Very passive-aggressive. I brought up an idea like, hey, we're talking about kind of changing how we do this service. I've been thinking about it, and here's some ideas I have. As soon as I start talking, phone comes up. And then as soon as I'm done talking, phone goes down. The next thing I want to talk about.
Oh, wow. Wildly disrespectful.
Wow.
And now, was this happening to any of your colleagues as well? So this was just you. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's where at the time I didn't notice it because when I'm working this job, I'm like 23, 24. So I think like, well, everybody's pretty nice overall. Like this is nice. So it didn't click with me that like that was happening overall. Couple more passive aggressive comments like that happen as we're wrapping it up. We all order food, right? And nobody can decide where to get food. And normally we leave for lunch and go get food. So me and a couple of my coworkers are like, hey, we're going to go get some Thai food. We can't leave. You said we could leave. I don't want anybody to leave. I'll just go get pizza. We're like, none of us want pizza.
That was it right there.
None of us want.
That was the straw.
None of us want this. And I was like, I'm happy to go get it. And they just looked at me and said, sit down. I'm going to get food for everybody. And I just kind of sat down and was like, I'm an adult.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a pissing match. Kind of.
A little bit, yeah. And then shortly after that, we go back to our offices. That's when my coworker comes in and they talk to me a little bit further about like, this is what I noticed. That's when I click that like, I don't think I can overcome this.
Yeah.
I don't think that spending the next, I don't know, we got here in 4 years. I don't think I want to spend the next 4 years trying to get back to the status quo I was beforehand. So I just told myself internally at that day, like, I'm going to find an opportunity to take another job.
Yeah. And so how long from that day till when you were giving your notice?
I would say about 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a rough 6 months emotionally for me.
Sure. Well, it's like you're kind of blissfully unaware and then suddenly you're like acutely aware and then you're seeing every single thing.
It was like I had just run directly into a brick wall and nobody had told me that I was running full tilt into that wall. And I just had to turn around and realize like, oh, I just ran into this. My face hurts.
Yeah.
What am I doing? How did I get here?
Yeah, yeah.
And all of that's just swirling around.
So you had mentioned that you were like 23-ish when you had it. What was the age range of your coworkers?
Mid 30s to 40s. I would say if you were to look at like the staff before I got there and a couple years beforehand, I would say 50s.
So curious, and I'm not trying to make conclusions where there are none to make, but it's interesting to me that it sounds like you were sort of, you were being kind of targeted versus everybody else. Like you were the one they pick up the phone and not pay attention to. You were the one that they would tell you to sit down, and you weren't noticing that behavior with other. No. You weren't witnessing that. You didn't see your boss do that to anybody else, just you.
Yeah, and it started to trickle down a little bit. There was one day, attire was a big thing towards the end, that we had to be absolute professionals.
Okay.
Full suit, full tie, dress shoes, slacks, everything to the nines.
Okay.
I came in one day wearing like a pair of pants that like looked like jeans but weren't, because I was never comfortable in some of that clothing. And I remember I walk in and one of my coworkers goes, "Oh, somebody's a rebel, taking it to him." And I was like, "What?" And they're like, "Yeah, you're wearing those, shove it in their face." And I was like, "No. Oh, no. That's not what I'm doing." Another coworker like leans in really close and looks at it and goes, "These look like jeans. I'm gonna have to go tell them." Had a minor mental breakdown where I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. I can't, as an adult, get into an argument with another adult about am I wearing the right pants?
Yeah, sure, right. So do you think that there was ageism there? Do you think you were treated differently because of your age?
I think that was part of it. I had it with clients all the time. I had clients who, after my meeting, would contact the leader of the organization and say, "Don't give me that kid. I didn't come here to talk to an intern. I came here to talk to a professional." I had to prove myself quite a bit in that regard.
Yep. Which I would say is fair.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
It's tough, though.
Oh,
I've been there, too.
Absolutely.
I get it. It's tough, but I get that piece.
Yeah.
You do have to prove yourself. So, okay, fine.
And I think on the leadership side, I think that was part of it, because I came into the organization, I had to learn everything about it. But then once I learned everything, talked to other people who were doing the job, I was like, well, here's some ways we can improve. This is how we do it. Understand that. What I'm liking is, can we have a larger conversation about should that change? Mm-hmm. And I think that, to your point of ageism, I think that was part of it. Of, I was like, I could be here for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
I want to change the organization.
Yeah.
And I think that attitude kind of comes from being younger, stepping into professional roles, wanting to prove yourself and show you have value.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm curious. I'm going to kind of just dig in on this for a little bit. So I don't want to get in the weeds too much, but I'm really interested in this. So knowing what you know now, because I mean, oh my gosh, when I think of myself as at 23, would I change anything? No, because it is who you grow, you learn, you blah, 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 all the things, right? Mm-hmm. But like, if you could tell yourself now, if you could tell your 23-year-old self something, like a tip or hey, this, what would it be?
Leave work at work.
Okay.
Leave work at work. Okay. I look back now and I realize there were several times I had to tell my partner, I promise this year I'm going to work less.
Oh yeah.
I promise I'll be home more. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to be doing this. I'm not going to talk about work as much.
Yeah.
Leave work at work.
Yeah. Okay. So that's interesting to me, and that's excellent. And that is not what I thought you would say.
What'd you think I was going to say?
Well, just based on what we're talking about, I'm expecting you to say something like, either like, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Keep going. You're earning your stripes and you're on the right track. Or like, know your audience. You got to give it some time. Wait until they're ready to hear what you have to say, which I'm not saying one is right or wrong, because in one way I feel like that's you making yourself small. I can also see it as being like learning the ropes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, or that's what I was kind of expecting.
I've always dealt with imposter syndrome, so I never feel like I'm on the right track.
Sure.
I always feel like any
alone.
day somebody is going to come up to me and go, hey, everything you've done is a lie, and I know you did it.
We
figured you out,
yes.
Jones.
Yes.
And then the other side of it of, what'd you say again? The second one? Know your audience.
Like know your audience, like take into account what they're coming.
I'm really bad at not speaking my mind.
Okay.
And so I've learned to just not talk as much.
Yeah.
Because I'm really bad at self-censoring when I feel like I'm right.
Sure. Hey, that's awareness right there, man.
Yeah.
Oh, so then let me ask you a fun question. If you were your boss of you then, how would you have handled you differently?
I would have at least tried to make some of the changes. There are some things I know fundamentally. There are ideas I'd have that I'm like, I would start it with, I know this is crazy.
Yeah.
At a lot of my positions, I have to temper my expectations because I want to do really, really big things.
Yes.
I would at least make some of those changes. At the very minimum, I would open it up to the wider office and say, hey, this is what we're proposing. We've talked about it a little bit. Let's talk about it. Let's do a trial period, and then let's get some feedback. Let's see where we're going.
Yeah.
So that I would feel engaged, I would feel valued, and then I would understand if it succeeded, here's how we make something succeed.
Yep.
If it didn't work out, here's why it didn't work out. But
and you're learning.
But I was involved in the whole process of learning.
Absolutely. And that was a huge missed opportunity by them just shutting you down and shutting you off. Yeah, interesting. So it's funny, and I keep smiling because I can just picture you as a child. Like, I imagine you were very precocious, and maybe not. Maybe you came out of your shell later. But I relate to so much of what you're saying, and you're saying things I'm like, yep, I get it. And, you know, I think there is something to be said for people needing to just be put in their place sometimes.
Yeah.
I have definitely needed to be put in my place where I think I'm, you know, like, let's do this and this. And people say no. And I'm like, yeah, but no, really. And they're like, no. And this is why. And it's like, couldn't we have just tried? You know, so like everything you're saying, I am that. Mm-hmm. So I get that. But when I kind of try to look at it from that perspective, I'm just always interested in like what could have made that different or not. And are we meant to be? Are we meant to be quieted? Or are we meant to just be like, this isn't our right place and we go to the next?
I think I've learned this isn't my right place.
Yes.
There are people who do things better than me.
Yeah.
And they're exceptional at doing them.
Yeah.
And my contribution is, here's the idea.
Yeah.
And that is enough satisfaction for me sometimes to say a good thing happened. I was part of bringing that about, but I'm not the person who can execute on it.
I love that. Yeah. That's such great awareness too.
Yeah.
And it also, what I like about it too, is it kind of keeps the responsibility at the center too, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm owning what I'm good at. And I'm also knowing when I need to exit. And I'm also respecting you enough to know
Yes.
when I'm good at it and when I need to exit. And I think there's something to be said about that.
I think it's the spirit of collaboration.
Yeah.
Collaboration isn't we all do the absolute maximum. Collaboration is here's what I'm good at and here's what I can do.
Yeah.
It's complementary to what you do.
Yes.
That's collaboration.
Yes.
It's not an equal share of all the work. It's equally giving your effort to what you can do.
Yeah, I like that. So let's go back to this job that you had. How did you quit?
So I was interviewing for jobs for months. I thought I was going to go into banking because I was like, I've worked with bankers. I'll do that. Got like 4 different job offers. And every time I got the job offer, I just felt like numb and a little like sick about it. And I was like, I can't do these jobs.
Yeah.
I applied to work at a nonprofit, the current one we're in. And I got the job, and 30 minutes after I accepted the offer, I immediately sent an email to my boss, and I think it was 3 lines. Hello, effective this date, I will be resigning from this position. I will be going to this position. Thank you. And I sent it off. Probably about 15 minutes later, a more senior member of the staff calls me, and they go, "What's wrong?" No, what happened today? That was the line. What happened today? What are you talking about? What happened today? We got this email. You're quitting. What's wrong? What do we need to fix? Nothing. I'm leaving. I found a position that I think would work really great for me. And as of this date, I'll be leaving. I remember I'm talking to them, and they just, instead of going like, "Oh my God, congratulations. That's great. Where are you going?" It was, "Congrats, man. Cool. Talk to you later." And then that was the end of the conversation. And it was another person. I was like, I thought we had a relatively good connection.
Oh, interesting. So how did you take that to mean? Like, they were disappointed? They were like, this is a loss? Or like, well, I had to say that, but I don't really care?
I think they were disappointed because they knew they had to find somebody else to fill the role, not necessarily that I was leaving.
Gotcha.
Which
it was just great. Now I have some work to do.
Kind of, it was like, okay, awesome. Now I got to figure out how to get everything you're doing done and hire somebody on top of everything else, which kind of solidified in my mind, like, I'm making a good choice here.
Yeah, yeah. So looking back on that, do you like how you handled it?
Yeah. I was polite. I was professional. I did everything that was asked and expected of me. I think I gave 45 days notice.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I was very cordial with everybody. And I believe I left on a very good note in particular. And I will say the most interesting thing that happened in that period is the last week I'm there. Somebody from very high up in the organization sent me an email and said, "Hey, I saw you're leaving. I'd like to talk to you." Okay. I go into their office. And they go, "I saw you were leaving. I'm a little disappointed because you're really good at this job. Like, I think you're great there. I need to know what's wrong." And it kind of like threw me for a loop because I knew this person, didn't know them super well, didn't think they had this opinion of me. And then to have them go, "I'm interested in fixing things. And I want, as somebody who's leaving, I want to hear from you why you're leaving."
Yeah.
And I had a 30-minute meeting, nice and tight, and I left that going, I think I did some good.
Good. Do you remember what any of the things were that you talked about?
Yeah. One was just the lack of communication on a ton of different levels of going to a leader who you need to make a decision or you need them to do something and them saying later, and it never happening. Or it happening.
So like no follow through.
No follow through, or it happening so late, then you're like, now I have to scramble to try to get something done. Yep. The way people were talked to, like we said, passive aggressive, that kind of thing, and the kind of diminishing of the work. We went from being a very collaborative office to you cannot leave for lunch. You have to dress very, very professionally. I don't want to hear any non-client talk. You're here 8.5 hours. I want to see 8.5 hours worth of work, or we're going to start to have a conversation about whether or not you should be in this position. And that's not a position I wanted to be in.
It's not sustainable, really. Yeah. Wow. And so was any of this surprising to that person?
Yeah. The last question they asked me was, do you think I should be going down there more often? I said, absolutely you should.
Yeah.
Because at this point, I think somebody above the person I work for needs to come in and have a reality check with them about, like, you thought this was a great employee, they left, and their exit interview, they just ripped apart this organization, and we think there needs to be changes.
Yeah.
And I think that helped make some changes.
Yeah. So if you, let's say that the whole, like, whoosh, you will be in your desk, you will not leave this building, you will be dressed up, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. If that kind of went away, if those pieces had gone, but the work was still the same, the communication was still the same, would that have been enough to keep you there?
It may have been.
Yeah.
May have been, yeah.
So just that restrictive kind of feeling like you're always having someone breathing down your neck.
And I saw the value of my work differently. When I'd work with a client, I would see the value in talking with them, seeing their reactions, cutting the ribbon outside of a business for a grand opening. That's a wonderful feeling after like 18 months worth of work.
Yeah.
But not seeing that value from somebody who you work for, from somebody who's supposed to be leading you, managing you, helping you do your job well, I just didn't see that value. And I think if I had seen that more, would I be there today? Maybe. Would I have stayed there for at least a few more years? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because I loved that job.
Interesting. So they lost a person who was bought in. You bought into the job. You bought into what you were doing. You were
hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, you were in it, and you left because of that really controlling, sort of ego-driven type of leadership. I'm curious, do you know if that person is still there?
Yes.
In the same role?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I will say that I got even more gratification in my decision when I moved on to a different position, and I would talk to people and they would say, oh, you're no longer at that place. And I was like, yeah, I'm not there anymore. And I was like, yeah, I explained the reasons we just talked about. And they were like, oh, that makes sense. We kind of always thought that about, work. And I was like, okay. So other people out externally saw this.
Yeah.
And they knew about this and they had a perception of it. And it just kind of clicked in my mind that, like, again, if other people are agreeing with what you did and they are basically, they're not even challenging your viewpoint. They're just being like, I'm glad you finally got here.
Yeah.
That really solidified to me that, like, it's a good thing that I left.
Yeah.
If I had been there still now with that same level of things, I think at 31 I'd be a defeated individual.
Sure. So it's okay. Yeah. And you're not there. So everything we would say would be speculation, and I don't want to gossip or anything. I'm so interested in, did the person you had your exit interview with go? Did they talk to them? Did they coach them up? Did they help show them a different way? Or is it exactly the same way as when you left?
All I can say, because I don't want to get speculative, is that within 6 months of my departure, 3 other consultants, so 75% of the staff, had quit and moved on to different roles.
Gosh, yeah, that's telling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. Huh. So, no regrets.
No, none. None. Like I said, I miss working with those clients. I miss having that particular form of impact in my community. But my mental well-being, my career path, where I want to be and how I value my work and my life, I think that was the absolute best choice I made.
Absolutely. So I'm curious now, just thinking about the way that this person spoke to you when you were employed and sort of under their thumb, when your notice was in and they knew you were on your way out, did their behavior change at all?
Very cold.
So even worse.
Even worse. Not as much passive aggressive, but a lot more of they would only talk to me to say, how are those tasks that I gave you to be done? Only came into my office to basically say, very matter-of-factly, this needs to be done. Can you do it? Yep. And then walk out. I went from talking to this individual, I would say for about 10 to 15% of my day, to maybe 1% or less. Just very little communication. And I remember my formal exit interview with the place I worked at, it was at noon, I think. And it was 9 a.m. I'd been there for an hour, had literally nothing to do. I had zero work. And I just went to them and I was like, hey, I know my exit interview's at noon. I have nothing to do. I'm just going to go. And they just looked at me and went, fine. And just went right back to what they were doing. And I was like, okay, we're at a complete closure of this connection.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
not
it's I don't know, because I can't imagine like speaking to a person that way. Like there's plenty of people I don't like, but I would never speak to somebody that way.
Good luck. All the best for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Even just a feigned, I hope to see you soon.
Sure.
Just fine. Back to everything.
So there was beyond the conversation with that one person, there was no formal.
No,
exit
there
interview.
was no like party. There was my coworkers individually came up to me like, hey, so glad, this is great. I'll miss you.
Yeah.
But no general recognition that anything had changed besides this work now needs to be distributed. Here's who's doing it now.
Yeah.
So it was very much like this person's gone.
It was
Forget
transactional.
Forget they existed.
Yeah.
Just do the work and move on.
Yeah. Wow. Well, congratulations for leaving.
Thank you.
So what else? Do you have another story that you wanted to share?
Well, the next job I got, leaving that position, was a complete departure from everything I had ever done.
Okay.
So I got the job as a business consultant. I have no business degree. I have never owned a business. I just happen to be really good at consulting. I decided I was going to take a leadership role because I said, I think I have good ideas and I want to be in a position where I can actually make those ideas happen. I want to see the things that I think come to reality. So I found a leadership position at a wonderful nonprofit, Community Access Media. And I applied for the position. And the funny thing I found out later was they were about to hire somebody, fell through. So they did a second round of interviews. And I was chosen as the second person. My current position I'm in at Penn State Behrend, they had hired somebody. Something fell through. I was the second best choice. So I'm the second best choice anybody ever makes. But I took this leadership role, and I was scared out of my mind because I'd have to manage. I was fully responsible for this organization.
Yeah.
The budget, the employees, the maintenance of the building. There was any failure was my failure.
Yeah.
There was nobody else I could blame. And I was so scared of that position for the first 6 months I did it until I got comfortable in like, I can just do these things. I have a free hand for the most part. I get to develop who I want to be now.
Yeah. How did that feel?
Really empowering.
Yeah.
There was a lot of real high highs and a lot of real low lows. Like there was a couple of like bigger projects I had planned that just flat out failed. I put in a ton of effort. I spent organizational money on these projects and they were an unmitigated failure. And I had to go in front of the board and say, this isn't happening. This is what I've done. It's not working. And I fully accept the blame for it. And that was a learning experience.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. being in a leadership role, was there anything that you learned in that time that made you have a little bit of like empathy, I guess, for your former leader?
It's tough.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do.
Yeah.
I think a lot of different leaders have so much on their plate, and some things you can't delegate. And looking back, I think the person I worked for had a ton of things on their plate, maybe more than they should have had.
Sure.
And I think that's part of it. I think that's part of what breeds people maybe being passive aggressive, maybe being colder or terse, because they're like, I just don't have time.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
So you have so much to do. There's really big expectations. And there's expectations from people you don't even know. And there's expectations in the community. And your reputation really does start to precede you.
Yeah.
When you put it out there that I'm leading this organization, now everything that's attached to it is attached to you. And you have to own that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a big, I don't want to say burden, but it's a big load to have on your shoulders.
Yeah.
For sure. So leaving one job and then going into a leadership role, there is something you glean from that then of this isn't easy. This isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't excuse
No.
poor behavior.
I will say that there were decisions I made that, looking back, I maybe should have made a different decision. I maybe should have changed how I made that decision.
Interesting, yeah.
But I have to, as a leader, own what I did.
Yeah.
There's
like
no-
these chairs?
Yeah, these
Just
chairs.
kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
So wait, no, can we unpack that a
Yeah.
little bit? Because I love that. Can you give an example when you just said like, there's decisions that I wish that I would have gotten to differently? What do you mean by that?
I think that when you lead an organization that gives you a lot of responsibility for how it grows, the direction of it in the community, I had a board that was my boss, and we met every 2 months. So in between those like 2-hour board meetings, I had to do everything else. And so we're building programs, for instance. I wish I had been more attentive on certain things. I wish that I had given more consideration and thought to certain decisions and not just said, okay, this is what we're doing. I also think that I should have spent more times on different programs. I should have spent more time looking at how things impacted our organization, but I got so caught up in the short term. I got so caught up with, we got to do this, we got to do this, we got to do this. And I feel like it really hindered the long-term vision of the place.
Okay.
I had a vision. I thought it was a really good vision, but I felt like I was taking like 2 steps forward and then like a step and a half back.
Yeah.
There'd be progress, but then I'd get frustrated like it's not fast enough. It's not where I wanted to be.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's amazing awareness. I'm curious, how do you think you did at engaging the people around you and your team? Like, what kind of culture do you think you built?
A culture that was open, collaborative. Some of the best times I had while working here was just sitting in the front office with a member or sitting in the front office with staff and just talking.
Yeah.
We'd have jokes, we'd tell stories, we'd wrap it around into work. Sometimes that openness would sometimes lead to conflict.
Yeah.
And that was a realization too, that like being a good boss doesn't mean being the boss everybody wants you to be. It's about balance.
Yeah.
And I had to learn that towards the end, that like I can't be a fun, cool, awesome boss. I have to be the boss, and I have to set limits, and I have to kind of separate myself. I learned that maybe a little too late into what I was doing, but I tried to build an atmosphere where anybody could come with an idea. We could talk about it. We would give it fair consideration, and we would move it forward if it made sense.
Yeah. Nice. So what you didn't have
Yeah.
at the last job, you created. That's beautiful. Yeah. So then what led to your going to your next job?
What led to going to my next job was I felt like I wasn't doing as well as I could at CAM.
Okay.
I felt like it had reached a point where it needed somebody with a different skill set, a skill set that could really take what I had built and what I had done and take it to the next level where it needed to go and where they think it needed to go.
Yeah.
And I was very comfortable with stepping away, handing it off to somebody else, and trusting that you're gonna run this just fine, but you're gonna run it. And I need to step away because I need to go do something that's better suited to what I now know what I want to do.
Yeah.
The job I had at CAM was transformative. It was 2 years of learning who I was as a leader, learning what I wanted to do, learning what I liked to do, learning what I hated to do.
Yeah.
And it really gave me the confidence to pursue new roles that I was like, this is what I want to do. I read the job description for being the director for the Center of Family Business, and I didn't even hesitate to apply for it. I was like, yeah, I can do this.
Nice.
There's no question in my mind I can do this.
Yes. That's incredible. What a cool story. Okay, so let's see. Anything right now, if you could sit in front of your first boss that we've talked about, what would you say to this person?
I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to further my career and further my skills. I really wish we could have had a better relationship.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay, are you ready for the last question?
I'm ready.
This is important. Yes. Please take this very seriously. What is the song that always gets you on the dance floor?
Ric Flair by Tom McGuire and the Brass Holes.
Oh my gosh, that was such a great, quick, you knew exactly right away.
I listen to that song like 7 times a week.
That's hilarious. I don't actually think I know it. Do I know it?
You probably don't.
Okay.
But it's about the wrestler Ric Flair.
Okay.
And as a child, I loved wrestling and I loved the personalities. And I found this song like 12 months ago. And it is, I got my Spotify Wrapped, and it was like, you were in the top 0.01% of people listening to Tom McGuire and the Brass Holes. And I was like, yeah, that's because Ric Flair is a great song.
That's hilarious. I love it. Okay, now we know. Very good. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending your time with us and for sharing your story. I learned so much, and I'm sure that our listeners did as well. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Have a good one. Oh, hi, guys. Today's episode of Click with Casie was sponsored by Donato's Pizza. Did you know that you can get a lunch special at Donato's Pizza for less than a combo meal at McDonald's? It's true. They have 2 locations in Erie, Pennsylvania. They have one at Green Garden and they have one in Harbor Creek. You can get one of their delicious subs, a drink, and a bag of chips. You can also get, look at this salad. Oh my gosh, right? Or you can get a smaller pizza, all for your lunchtime delight. It's filling, it's delicious, it's local, and you definitely need to check them out.